Hey, I'm Jolt and welcome back to the Sketch Your Mind conference recordings. This is the second session out of 16 that I'll be sharing here on my channel. If you missed the first one, no worries, you'll find all the links and resources in the description below, including the giant Excalidraw whiteboard where I'm collecting notes and highlights from every session. I keep adding to it as people share their takeaways, so check back from time to time. Today's talk is from Nicole van der Hoeven, Senior Developer Advocate at Grafana Labs, a PKM YouTuber, and a long-time Obsidian and Excalidraw user. In fact, just this week she shared her new Excalidraw badge, reaching over 2,000 drawings in her vault, earning her the rank of the legend of visual thinking. Nicole's an engineer at heart, and it shows in some of the solutions she demonstrates in this session. She posted a video roughly a year ago about converting all her Obsidian notes to Excalidraw hybrid notes. Today, she shares what she has learned after a year of blending text and visuals in her PKM workflow. Three key takeaways stood out for me. First, she completely removed friction by making every new note hybrid, automatically combining text and drawing space. Second, she treats visuals as modular building blocks that connect through backlinks, just like text. And third, she shows how to build complex diagrams by embedding smaller ones, like snapping together engineering components. It's a perfect example of how visual PKM can scale from ideas to systems. At the end of the video, you'll hear the music I composed for Nicole's session. If you enjoy this content and would like to support my work or engage with me directly, you can get the conference album, join the next visual thinking workshop, grab my book, Sketch Your Mind, or try the Obsidian Excalidraw plugin. All the links are right below. And now, let's dive into Nicole's session.
Thanks, Jolt, and thank you for inviting me and for making it super easy to come on and share what I'm doing with everybody. Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole van der Hoeven. I am right now in Canada, actually, so not where I usually live in the Netherlands or Portugal, but in Canada today. So it's in the morning, and I'm on my second cup of coffee. So sorry if I'm not quite there yet. And I'm going to share my screen here. Jolt is a longtime friend now. It's been a while. And I really love his stuff. And what you're looking at here is actually using Obsidian Excalidraw. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, but essentially, spoiler, I'm going to tell you up front, I'm still doing those templates that Joel talked about. So let me go through what I'm doing right now. And then, by the way, if you have any questions, I'm going to try to be keeping an eye on the Q&A and on the chat. So if there's anything quick that you just want to know, like, oh, what was that you just said? I'm going to try and answer that. And then also don't be distracted. I hope it's not distracting. I don't know if you can see that actually. Here, let me move it a little bit just so you can see my keystrokes as well. Okay, here's what I'm currently doing in my notes that's visual. Jolt and I got together because he thinks very differently from me. He's much more visual and I'm much more textual. And I really love it when people are so passionate about an approach that's entirely different to mine. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to do this whole visual thinking thing without being able to draw, and let's see how far I go. Happy to report that a year later, I am still doing that. And let me show you how that works right now. So this is kind of my process. I'm going to run through every step of it. But first, I do still start with a template that's kind of an easy way. I found that if I already have a note, yeah, I know I can add an image to it, but it's a few extra clicks. And for me, it really changed everything, changed my workflow when I just made the template have both a visual and a textual component from the beginning. So that really made it a lot easier to switch. And when you think about this, like back of the paper thing that Jolt talks about, it really does seem that easy to me. I don't have to think like, oh, does this note deserve to be a visual? Like, no, it's always a textual and a visual note, always by default. So everything starts with that template and that extra reminder that I can add whatever I want to a note, whether that's visual or text. And then I actually start creating those notes with one or the other. I mean, now, strangely, I have a lot of notes that are just visuals. In fact, I just did one because I was in the opening remarks from Jolt, and he was talking about this play as the highest form of research. And so I just created a note on that, and I don't really have any text on it. It's just a visual. And I found myself doing that more than I thought that I would. I thought coming from someone who just has all text all the time to having notes that are just visual is like kind of strange. Technically, though, it's not just visual because there's text in the visual as well. But that's how I roll. And then I go two ways from there. One is I kind of go backwards, and this build libraries is going back and seeing what those visuals are made of. And then the other way, using those visuals to build bigger, more complex visuals. So let's go into each of those. First, the template. I'm going to show you my actual template. So please don't think that this is how you should do it. This is not how you should do it. This is just how I do it. So I just put it in like source mode so you can see everything. And this is what I've settled on. So I have the Excalidraw drawing here, but you don't really need to copy mine or anything. I'm just going to create a new one so you know how to do it yourself. So this is completely blank, and I am in my templates folder. By the way, I'm using Obsidian. I still am using Obsidian, still the best tool despite me having tried many other tools. And I am using the templater plugin as well as Excalidraw. So from a new note, you just open up the command pane and you look for this command. If you already have Excalidraw installed, then you can just convert a markdown note to an Excalidraw drawing. So what that does is it brings you into the drawing right away, but you can actually like go back and forth. I have a keyboard shortcut for this. Now I don't know how you actually do it without the keyboard shortcut. I think you go markdown, toggle between Excalidraw and markdown mode, but I always just use this hotkey just so it's like muscle memory. So I can flip, this is the text one, and then this is the image. So I can draw something here and quickly save that. Oops, hit another hotkey there. And then I can do something like untitled. I mean, I wouldn't actually call it untitled, right? But that way, this is going to change. So if I put like something like that there and flip back, then that updates as well. And from there, you can kind of build a template here. You can put whatever you want. You can have a title. So as I'm going to delete this because I already have a template, but like my new note template has a bunch of front matter in it. This is also some template or syntax just to add the date and stuff. So that's what I do. That's what, like, starting point, whatever note I have has that. Now I do have some different ones, like I have a person one, and it also has Excalidraw data, but it's slightly different metadata. So I have multiple templates now, not just the one, but they all are hybrid ones, meaning they all have this text on one side, and then the visual on the other. So after that, by the way, if you have any questions about what I'm talking about, or if I'm going too quickly, please feel free to ask me some questions in the chat. So now I want to show some of my actual notes that I've created with this. And I picked out some ones that are kind of nice to demonstrate, and ones that I've put together. So let's do this one. These are all notes. This is a pop-up plugin that I have. So this is like work stuff, but you don't really need to know what these things are. I was learning about telemetry collectors at work, and I do have some text. I still started with text in this situation, but then I also added this visual. I don't draw. I have exactly 0 sketches. I think everything is. I like to get them from flaticon.com. I have a subscription and everything because I love it so much. And I just pick out icons from there and I put them here. So this is what a note looks like that is a hybrid one of text and then also of visuals. And I can flip back and forth and type things in here. I saw that Jolt has a lot of text still on his visuals. Sometimes I do that and sometimes I don't. I don't really sweat it. And I don't have like that thing he has that for sizing. That's a good idea, and I always mean to implement it, but I never do. So far it's been okay. So I have these notes that individually have sometimes very simple. This is just a single icon, and in this case there's like data visualization. I could say so much, but I actually didn't put that much text. It's more links and images. And I noticed that does kind of let me off the hook a bit when I do a drawing for it. It makes me think like, oh, I know that one, so I don't have to think as much about the text, which I think is a good thing because it lets me like it means that I don't have to force myself. Like if something comes more naturally as an image and I think I'm fine, then why should I have to force myself with text? Does having a lot of Excalidraw notes slow down my vault? No, it slows down publishing. It slows down Obsidian Publish. I've come up against the storage quota for it. I'm talking to the Obsidian team about that now, or else I'll have to find another solution for publishing. But yeah, I haven't noticed any slowdown for Excalidraw notes, with some notable exceptions that I will also show later. Thanks, Marlene. Frank says, so because of the template, every new note automatically has both text and Excalidraw image. Did I get this correct? Yes. I know. Awesome, right? Like it automatically just does. So if I create a new note, note for demo, let's say, if I do that, it automatically has all of the Excalidraw stuff. And technically, the image isn't created until I switch to that side and do something. Otherwise, I'm just saving it for no reason, right? So let me switch to that side. It is, I like dark mode by default, but it's just nicer when I'm showing someone to make it light mode. So I can put something here, sketch. Also, you can change like the font. Like I don't like the default Excalidraw font. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one that bothers, but I changed that as well in my default template. So then I save it, switch back, and there it is. And that's what I mean, that having the template really changes it, just reduces the friction for switching back and forth. Okay, so I talked about the telemetry collector and data visualization one. Now let's go a little bit backwards and start to look at the libraries. Now, Jolt actually told me about this. The interesting thing is that I realized that one thing that visual notes do that text notes don't do is this ability to go backwards. So like when I had this telemetry collector, for example, so I have this visual, and if this were a note, I wouldn't really go in this case, I didn't go lower than that. Like what is the individual components that make it up, or the conceptual thing. Let me show you what I mean. When I go to the icon library, I have all of these. This is a JavaScript script that I got from Jolt, actually, that goes through my library, my vault, and looks at everything that I've labeled a certain that has a file name icon dash something. So here are some of the concepts that I've used. I haven't fully switched everything to it. So from here, I can see like a lot of concepts that I've used as building blocks for things like this. So like here's the pipe, for example. I don't know if you can see that. There it is. The pipeline one that I used here. I don't actually define pipeline. Like I don't have a note called pipeline, but I have a visual, not even like a constituent of a visual that is a pipeline. So that's kind of cool, because now if I open that up, just the icon, it acts like normal nodes in that it shows me, oh, this pipeline was linked in the telemetry collector one. In this case, I didn't link it to other things, but it's cool that now I didn't create a note for it, but just because I used that icon in a note, it's all like connected the way textual notes are. So I find myself being interested in the things that I've chosen to add. And sometimes I go back in, like maybe I should, like I think I did on this one, I did talk about a pipeline, because I'm like, oh yeah, if I used that visual in the back of the card for this, then maybe I should go back and add that in as well. Quick questions. Claudia S says, how do you handle the size of the images? Not all of them are SVGs. I suppose you're using JPEG or PNG too. How do you handle the size of your vault and therefore have probably problems with syncing with other devices? Yeah, not all of them are SVGs, although I prefer them. I have PNGs. I still have some PNGs, but now I like SVGs because in Excalidraw you can do this thing where you add a script to it. You do, oops, that's not what I meant to do. I hope I don't show you anything I shouldn't show you. Shade Master is really good. So if it's an SVG, you can change a lot of this. I don't think this one is, but you can change like the color and stuff. Yes, there is a problem with the file sizes. I back up to GitHub, and I back up the text to GitHub, but not the images because it's like hopelessly bloated. And I also do it to Dropbox and Obsidian Sync all at the same time. So super backed up for that. Melody Davis says, so do you look through the icon library first before going to flat icon and pulling something? Theoretically, yes. Sometimes no, and that's why I end up with multiples of the same thing. I don't really sweat it. They're all there. Like if I want to know why I had two of these and what I used it on, I can still go back here and find it. So I can still just open it up and be like, oh yeah, I used that in this presentation that I did on emergent load testing. So yeah, I do it both ways. Oh, Randolph says, I didn't understand the icon library. Are they images, notes where you store them? How can the link to all the notes they are used in? So that's a good question. I like those questions so that I know what I've glossed over. So if you look at the actual source code, it is script. What it's doing is looking through all of my notes, all of the files in my vault, and it's specifically looking for something that's labeled icon dash. And it then takes all of those, just the images. So these are not notes, they're files in my vault. So sometimes these are visuals that I've put for a note in the back of the note, or like as part of a larger compilation of visuals. But if you know the board game concept, I kind of think of it like that. That's kind of what the game was in Jolt's opening notes. Like I like starting from base concepts that I use over and over again, and then seeing like what can I reuse from this, or if not, I'll just get something else. And the way I think you were also asking how I can see the links. That's just like Excalidraw and Obsidian magic. It's just when you use something, whether that's an image or a note in Obsidian, it tracks where it's been used or linked to. So it's kind of, I'm just using the backlinks one. When I'm flipping over to the side panel here, that's just a backlinks core plugin, not a community one. So that's how I'm looking at it. And then I also have a logo library, do a lot of work stuff. And so these are like tech companies that I refer to a lot. And that's also useful to see like what a company is doing, what other products they have. So that's one way of kind of going backwards, right? From the note, I'm looking at the constituent parts and pulling them out and seeing what concepts they're made out of and looking at the dynamically generated library for them. But I can also go forwards, and instead I can take those notes and assemble them into bigger like building blocks. So here's an example of what that looks like. Here's a page for observability, and my idea of observability currently encompasses telemetry collectors, which is what the previous note was. Again, you don't really need to know what these mean, but I just wanted to show that here is one note where this visual is actually, this is an embed of the telemetry collector note. So if I click on the visual, you'll see it's linked in both observability and telemetry collector. And also, because it still looks at the unlinked mentions, here's like, a meeting with a coworker where we talked about telemetry collectors. And this is something from an article that I read. And this is just from a visual. Like, to be able to get this level of traceability through my system, not just in text but for visuals, is something that I never thought I would get to. And really, we owe Jolt for bringing this to Obsidian. So it sometimes also works the other way. This is kind of bottom up. When I start with something that's smaller and I build it up, like what is a telemetry collector a part of? But it sometimes works the other way where it's top down. I'm not strictly bottom up. I like the whole emergence of ideas, but the reality is sometimes you're assigned a topic and you just have to break it down. So I do still work top down sometimes. And here's an example of that. Here's the architecture of something that I'm working on, an open source project called Loki. And I took this from a slide from one of the marketing materials. And then I looked at it and I'm like, okay, what is a query front end? And then just this bit now links to the query front end. Oops. So then that links to this whole other page that has some text, and oh yeah, I did a video, and this will play at a certain part of I just had my own voice in my head just then, so strange. Where I'm talking about the query front end, and then also like I have a little visual to talk about it. So now each of these links to something that I've gone into in more detail. So this is me deconstructing rather than constructing as I did in the previous one. Okay. Oh, this is being sorted by latest. I kind of want to go the other way. Birgit Schultz, do you build your visual library in advance, filling it with icons you might use, or just on the go? Definitely on the go. I don't have time to think about, things that I might use. But if you do, that's great. I think I would recommend that. How do you decide about the design of the icons? Do you aim for a coherent look or just take what comes around? One of the reasons that I like the flat icon app is because you can skin it. So you can take like something that's an icon that's black, and then I have like my shade of red that I like, and I just skin it that way. So I usually keep a black version and a red version. But now that in Excalidraw I discovered this shade master script, now I just keep one version and I can skin it as needed and still maintain the links of that particular image. Tatiana, doesn't it take more time than just writing it down? I know Jolt also likes this question, and my answer is the same as his. Yeah, it does. Writing down takes more time than not writing it down. But personally, I've found that not writing down or drawing anything in the first place for something that I will use again will take more time if I don't do it. Let me restate that. I have found that when I don't write down or draw something that I know I'll use again, I find myself at that future point cursing my past self for not writing it down. And it ends up taking way more time because now instead of just looking it up from scratch, I'm like, I swear I have this. Did I do it? Or maybe I had put it here and I just can't find it. And it's just such a pain. I could have just written it down. And I'm at the point now where adding a visual is pretty easy, flipping back and forth. Like I didn't even remember the command for it because I just used the hotkey. And I think that's the key. Make it super easy. Jesse Alexander, these tools are new to me. What support is there for iPad and Apple Pencil? When I'm looking off screen here, I'm actually looking at my iPad and my Apple Pencil. I have had really good success using my iPad with Excalidraw. Actually, it's not perfect, but I can like take handwritten notes. If I had more time, I would look for a note like that I did do. But yes, absolutely possible using Obsidian. Okay, just wanted to go through some use cases, and I'll be switching back and forth to the questions still. And this whole presentation is done in Excalidraw using the presentation plugin script. No, it's not a plugin; it's a script for Excalidraw. And but also do it for conferences and other meetings. So not just presentations. Now, when someone asked earlier, like, does Excalidraw slow your vault down? Well, it has. This is one from the PKM Summit in 2024. Jolt mentioned that he and I met there. We did a joint talk on tabletop role-playing games and visualizing that. And I also experimented. I mean, it's PKM Summit. It was the best place to experiment on different ways to take notes. So I had here some handwritten notes. Although I think this was taken on a Remarkable, or I don't know, it might have been a Kindle Scribe. I'm not sure. So I had some handwritten ones here. These are PDFs that I embedded. This is all in Excalidraw. I put like screenshots of the schedule, and then I put photos of people, and I've also tagged them. So like each of these, I won't go into the people notes because I actually have people notes that are not for public consumption, but they're all linked, and that way I'm not like, oh yeah, I met you somewhere sometime and I liked you but I don't know why. So I this was the first time that I did this at for a conference. And there's Jolt, and everyone has like a little note here, and this does take a while to load. I'm kind of surprised that I'm able to go through it as well as I am right now. These are like people's slides and stuff. But this is such a great way of visualizing an entire conference experience. Other conferences that I've gone to that I've done this for haven't been as extensive because, sometimes I'm a lot of times I'm the weird note taker and everybody else is fine. But here I was not weird. I would have been weird if I wasn't taking notes. So yeah, I documented it quite a bit. That's one use case for it. And then another one is reference notes. Oh yeah, so my partner and I are reading this book, rereading Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. It's a very dense book, so it really deserves a reread, I feel, to like really incorporate it. And what I'm doing is, so I wanted to show this because it has a lot of different ways that I've taken notes. So one is short form, which is like an intelligent Blinkist, like a book summary that doesn't try to distill everything in like 10 bullet points, but actually um, inspires you to think about how the what the author is saying is linked to something else that some author has said, whether it's contrasting or comparing. And so I have notes on that, all text, and this is done in Obsidian. But I'm also like per chapter. So this one I drew like a little. I did an Excalidraw drawing for it. But I've also been experimenting with voice notes. So it's not. I know it's not really visual thinking, but maybe audible thinking. And you won't hear it, but I actually have some audio as well to with a transcript, so that link is really important. Just like with visuals, Excalidraw parses the text on the image and makes it searchable. I need the same thing for audio as well. So I can just speak into the mic and then there's a text translation of it. So I'm really liking that as well. A couple more things. I already talked about, well, the presentation I'm showing you right now because this is all done in Excalidraw. So I'll skip to something that's a little bit more fun. Then maybe we'll go back to questions. So I've been experimenting with something because I was thinking about like how else I would like to visualize my notes. And at work, we visualize. I work for a company that visualizes monitoring data. So we visualize computer systems to see how they're functioning. Are they failing? If they fail, how do they fail? Do they fail gracefully? Can we make them fail so that we know everything about what we can expect when they fail in production? Because computer systems always do. And so like Jolt, I really let my passion drive me. I love Obsidian and I love my work. And I thought, what if I could merge the two? So I got into this really geeky sidetrack that probably will not be, useful for anyone other than me. But I thought, what if I monitor my own PKM as if it were a computer system? So I set up this whole pipeline of things. And I'm going to flip to, if anybody is interested in like how I did it, I'm happy to share it. But for now, I'll just show the results. So this is a dashboard. So, well, this is the last 12 hours, but I just woke up. So let me switch this to the last 2 days. So what this is doing is I have a lot of metadata, front matter in my notes, and I like knowing like how many notes do I have and like when do I write and how much am I writing. And so I decided that I would take all of that data and then pipe it into this dashboard. So like here I have a recently updated notes panel here, and you can see, oh, that note that I just created live for the demo, it's picking that up as one of the recently updated ones. And then yeah, so here are the most recently the notes that I added something to or created. And I really like this. I don't know. I think I have a little too much that's running right now for this to be loading properly. Looks like all the containers are up. But normally this would show over time, over the last 2 days, how many notes I've processed. And I'm kind of thinking of building this and doing things like how many links per note do I have and how does that change over time? So that's cool. All right, let's go back to some questions. Maybe I will exit this so that I can look at the screen here. Okay, how often, oops, I just totally lost that. Ivan Hogendoorn, spreek je Nederlands? Ik ook. How does your person template look like? Text and visual, and why? Okay, well, I can share that with you actually. Okay, I think I shared it briefly, but I don't mind sharing it again. Yeah, so I have a whole bunch of front matter and some meetings. This is a data view one. I have switched to bases. I still prefer data view, can still do more. And I do have, it is still an Excalidraw drawing. Sometimes I'll put like photos of that person when I meet them. I take a screenshot and put them just so I can tie the name to the face, because otherwise I get that weird Zoom thing where I'm like, I think I know your name, but I don't know what you look like. And then we meet and I treat you like I don't know you, but I actually do. So I find that really useful. Okay, who else? Looking through the questions here. I'm going to try to get through as many of these as I can. Okay. Jam H. How often do your notes organically start in Obsidian or Excalidraw, as opposed to processing a pre-existing note from pen or paper? How often? It depends on what it is. I work in tech, so if it's work, it probably starts in on the computer on Obsidian. Obsidian is always up. Like if my computer is on, Obsidian is running. But if it's something else, like I tend to do a lot of journaling through pen and paper. I love fountain pens, actually. So not everything is digital. And I won't show you a sample of it, but actually, in my daily note, I also have that as an Excalidraw drawing, because I will take a photo of my journal, my handwritten journal for the day, and then I'll put it on the daily note. So that most of the journal entries, I would say, are handwritten. And then there's also this hybrid one where I love e-ink tablets. So I just ordered a Remarkable Paper Pro Move. I have Remarkable Paper Pro, Remarkable 2. I have a Kindle Scribe. I have, like, it's kind of ridiculous. So I also have that as an intermediate thing. So when I'm at a conference, I will pull that out, or at a meeting, like a face-to-face meeting, I will pull that out. And then I can also embed that into either Excalidraw or just drop it into my Obsidian Vault as a PDF. So I don't know. I'm mostly digital still, but I do experiment with other methods. Okay. Ahmed Abdallah, do you have a silver bullet for publishing and sharing your notes? A silver bullet, as in like a tip or something for it? Um, I would say just make it as easy as possible. I have been using Obsidian Publish because it's right there. It's part of Obsidian, and I don't have to think about it. And it's just like it's like as natural as saving. And I think it's more a mindset thing. Like, don't think of it as publishing a blog post or something. If you're just sharing your notes, it's way less stressful. It's kind of like the reason that I actually shared the presentation with you like this, and instead of like actual slides, is because this feels less daunting to me. These are just notes. I'm just sharing my notes. You're not expecting polished slides. So if there's a silver bullet, I think that's what it would be. Okay. Adrian Vidrascu, are different sync systems working together generating conflict files? Do you sync while you work in Obsidian or punctually after Obsidian is closed? I sync while I work in Obsidian. Obsidian is never closed. There are occasionally conflicts, but I'm used to that. I mean, Git is supposed to be really good at managing conflicts with people working on the same node, the same code at the same time. So I find it fairly easy since it's just me and I don't have to worry about anyone else. And Dropbox also has a good version history, and I can fall back to previous parts of it. Uh, I know people say that they have a lot of issues with syncing. I just haven't really experienced enough to stop me. Okay, Birgit Schultz. Why are there the same icons multiple times in Nicole's icon library, like the thumbs down icon? Yeah, that's because I didn't. It took me a while to realize that I could just copy the same one. So So a lot of my vault is like I started with something, then I learned something, but I learned a better way of doing it, but I did go back and change the previous ones because it's too late. There's too much stuff now. So it took me a while to realize that it was better to just like copy it from here, as in Command C from here, and then paste it into something else, or insert in Excalidraw. You can like insert any to insert a file from Vault, and then you can search for it here. It took me a while to realize that that was better than importing it fresh. It seems so obvious, but I didn't realize until I was further along that actually, if I just use the same one over and over again, those links are preserved. So now I don't do that. But yeah, I should probably go back and fix these at some point, but I probably won't. Drona, Charya, what do you think will be the best way to search through notes if I plan to write with handwriting in Excalidraw? I know Jolt has an OCR thing. I remember trying that. Personally, I haven't found the use case for it, because usually I like having, if it's something that I've handwritten, I want to preserve that and I want to like have that handwritten. So I think I just play around with that script, the OCR one, and see how far you get with that. Depending on your handwriting and the language you're writing into, it might be better or worse. Randall Harris. Do images, icons, etc. live in an asset folder? Thanks. I started with having everything in an asset folder, and I still think that that's useful for like PDFs or something like that. I am kind of coming around to Jolt's point of view that he mentioned in the previous session, where he said that now he just has the visual notes in the same folders as the normal notes, as the text notes. I'm kind of more of that opinion now as well, just because it makes sense to have them in the same place. And sometimes the visual one I've thought about more than the textual one as well. So that's what I do. Jolt, I don't know actually how much time I have, but stop me if I'm going on too long.
Yeah, you're still good for 15 minutes, so all is good.
Great. Yay. Okay. Tomas Flores, how does that Excalidraw presentation script work? How do you install it? So far, it's amazing presentation. I know, right? Joel told me about it. This is what it looks like. So I can just delete this and do it from scratch. So first you make the drawing, and then you can do this with any drawing, and then you do this. You're basically tracing like the path that the presentation will take. So let's say I only want it to here. You can do it from the left side to the right. So this is going to be the first frame. And then let's say I want these two, then I'll do that. Okay. I'll stop there just so I can show you. And then there is a lot of these I actually know the hotkey for and not the actual command. So let me just do the hotkey. Okay. Whoops. Oop, I have to select it. What am I doing here? There. And that's the first slide, and now those two are the second slide. That's how you do it. And as for how to install it, Jolt has this in on his channel if you'd like to, but you can go into the scripts here. And is it presentation or slides?
It's slides, and I dropped in the
Okay.
links in this
Oh,
chat
great.
here so people can find it as well.
Great. Yeah, I find it a really engaging way to do it. It's just much more tactile, especially in a talk like this where I'm going back and forth between the presentations, the visuals, and the demo. Okay, I'm interested on how you monitor your system. How do you do it? Yay, Tomas asked the question that every engineer wants to hear. Okay, so if you want the full geeky thing, I do have it on GitHub. I have my repo here. It's open source. Everything. I don't use everything that I've used is open source. But basically, here's what I'm doing. I'm using a Python script to parse my Obsidian files. It's a cron job that runs every 5 minutes, I think, and it looks for notes that are new or modified. And then that one goes into something called it goes into the output is into a JSON log, which is then tailed by something called Alloy, which then sends it to a database named Loki, which is then visualized in Grafana. This is a whole thing that is probably unnecessarily complex, but this is how observability pipelines are done. And so this is all in a Docker Compose. If you want to do it for yourself, you could just pull down the repo and you could just do Docker Compose up and it does the full stack for you. And where it ends up is Grafana. Thanks for asking. Okay, Andy Caprani. Now that you mention hardware support, I think contemporary visual PKM is more feasible today, thanks to the physical support that enables it. Is that right? Yeah, absolutely. I was very skeptical until Obsidian Excalidraw came along. It was really the fact that you can, if you put text in the visual, that it is saved as plain text. That is really what clinched it for me, because otherwise I don't like the idea that I would put text on a drawing and then not ever be able to search for that, because then why would I put it in the drawing and not in the text, in the other side of the note, just as markdown. So now I don't really have to choose because I will find that text anywhere. So yeah, for sure. um Jacqueline Wilson, did you convert all of your notes? And if so, how long did it take you? I don't go back and change the way that I did things before. What I do is if I open up a note that I did create from a time before I was using hybrid templates, then I will convert it to like a hybrid note. And that one is pretty easy. It's the same sort of thing. You would just go convert. Wait, I should go to like a text one. I should go to one that isn't. Well, it's the same thing as if I'm creating a new note. You can Excalidraw. You can convert Excalidraw to MD. What is it? You can toggle between them. You can add existing drawings, and I can do this thing. See, yeah, I just know the hotkey for it. Let me look up the thing actually, because I know the oops. Or what am I doing now? Oops. What am I looking for, Jolt, here? I'm totally blanking on what you call it, but it's a thing where you convert it to from markdown to an
If
Excalidraw drawing.
simply convert.
Oh, it's just convert.
I think, yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
No, that's not the no.
Yeah, see, you forgot it. I'm very happy that you also forgot. Like, what does this do when I do
Just one
this?
sec. I need to find a document that's not an Excalidraw node so I can even test it.
Yeah, right.
No, it's convert
Well,
markdown node to Excalidraw drawing. That's the name.
okay. Well,
But you will
anyway,
only
that's
see it if it's not an Excalidraw drawing. So that the reason you don't see it here is because that's what I had to do. I had to create a plain markdown node so I can see it. If it's an Excalidraw
okay.
drawing, the command doesn't show because it makes no sense.
Yeah, all right. So that's what I would do, Jacqueline. Thanks, Jolt, and I'm also gratified that you also forgot exactly what it what it was. So no, it didn't take me much time at all, because I just leave it as text. And I do this with like normal templates too. My template has changed, like in terms of the front matter that I use. I don't go back and change all the previous ones, like especially I haven't always had these associations for breadcrumbs to do. It's fine. I will still find it, and then if it matters so much that I'm just going to um, redo it, reconvert it, or like add in the front matter later. So yeah, so that's the answer to that. Let me look at more questions. How did you create flashcards in Obsidian? Oh yeah, well, I didn't do it here, but it's spaced repetition. So you can review flashcards from all notes. I won't go into that now because it's really kind of outside the visual thinking thing, but I do this a lot for language learning. And it's a really cool way of turning your markdown notes into a spaced repetition system. What are my hotkeys? All of them? Sorry, excuse me. I'm still nursing a bit of a cold. I have a lot of them, but they're basically shortcuts. How do I mute here? Sorry, just had to cough there for a second. Yeah, so my hotkeys are just ones for so that I can just use. Whoa. Sorry, just had to have a drink there. My hotkeys are something that I actually save and copy over to every Obsidian vault. You can do it here. It's just part of Obsidian that you can look through every community plugin if they if they allow that. Sorry, folks, I just had a weird coughing fit. So anything that is a command in Obsidian, you can turn it into a hotkey, and that's how I've been like moving back and forth this whole time. I just find that easier. The things that I hotkey are the ones that I do multiple times a day, basically. Saradi ready. For someone who's a total beginner for Obsidian and the whole idea of visual thinking with 4D PKM, what are the 20% actions to start with for 80% results? Okay, Pareto principle. Do you have any list of must-dos for making this stick as a habit without getting lost while beginning? Okay, yeah, I would start with a template. If you forget everything else that I said, I would just start with a template. Create a new note and then do the convert to Excalidraw thing that I was talking about, and then that you'll be most of the way there. Like forget about linking anything, forget about the icon library. Just when you create a note, think about what visual you could create with it. That's it. Just start with that. You can do the links later if you really want to, but you have to have stuff in there first for you to see, for it to be at all useful. Ed Magan. I could see Excalidraw working well for international presentations. How do you manage translation? Is there a dynamic translation for SVG text into multiple languages? Or do you keep all text in a separate layer or back of a card for this? No, there's no translation for it in multiple languages. How would I do this if I were? I have given the same presentation in multiple languages, but honestly, I keep it's usually in English. The text is usually in English. I keep it in English. I just change what I'm saying. If I had to also change the text, I would create it again. I guess I would duplicate it. I don't know of a better way to automatically do that translation layer, like subtitles on YouTube or something.
Yeah, just
So
chipping in here because
yeah,
Jilly Lee is going to be the first presenter tomorrow morning, and her use case. So she's going to be talking about AI ready sketch notes, and they are handwritten sketch notes in her case. But her basic use case is auto translation with AI of her notes because she's South Korean, but then wants to share them in English as well. And so if you're interested, I think her presentation, she has a workflow around this and she's going to be sharing that. But yeah, as you mentioned, Nicole, so in Excalidraw, there isn't an embedded workflow to auto-translate, though it has come up a couple of times. So eventually the trick is always to convince me that I need it in my workflow, and then I get on it and do it.
Yeah, I mean, translation is always a difficult thing. I also work in multiple languages, and my notes are also in multiple languages. I really have not found a seamless way of doing it, and I don't know if I really want AI to go in and translate everything into every language. I feel like if someone wanted to do that on their own, like you know, a Google browser like Chrome is going to translate for you anyway. I feel like that should be a different layer, and it shouldn't be my notes written by AI, but as if it was written by me. Problematic for me. But if you're like, if you have the time to like verify it and see that it is correct, then yeah, that would be ideal. Okay, I think I hit the Q&A. I think I've answered everything in the Q&A. So
You're
yay. And I
amazing.
think I'm on time.
You're on time. I mean, hats
Yay.
off. I'm blown away by the multitasking ability, but I always knew that it's
I think it's because I stream.
yeah. So
I
I
just wish
think
I had found the mute button so I would not
I
subject you
did
all to
mute
my
you, so
coughing.
I did find it. So the later coughs I did mute. So Nicole, I'm I'm happy and relieved you're still using your hybrid notes. So for me, this was
Yeah.
also a surprise with some hope. Um, yeah, really appreciate you sharing all this. And based on the questions and the feedback here, I think you got lots of love. So you
Yeah.
deserve.
It was great. I saw a comment there that said the dashboard deserved a YouTube video. Maybe I should make one.
Yeah, it looks super impressive. Yeah. So I think with that, we can close. The next session is going to be a session with Dave Gray on game storming. So I highly recommend you join that. And you're going to see a different visual tool. So he's going to be using Mural for this. So that gives you variety. And just once more, I want to encourage you to use the networking part, use the event chat, use the speed networking, and all of these features that gives a whole great immersive experience for the conference. And there were many questions in terms of recording. So hopefully you should see tomorrow a replay option. And then there's going to be today's sessions. And then going forward, each day there are two exceptions. Olay's session, I think Wednesday evening, he has not to be recorded because it makes the live event more special and unique. So you need to join Wednesday evening for him. And Brandy had some special arrangements, but she'll explain that. Anyway, I think that's all. Nicole, thank you. Everyone, thank you, and hope to see you in Dave's session in half an hour.
Thank you for having me, Jolt, and thanks everybody. I'll be hanging around for the rest of the week. So just hit me up if you have any questions.
Awesome. Thank you.
Have a good conference.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I used to stop and think before I made a note. Do I type the words down or sketch the little boat? Text is good for searching. Drawing show the flow. Kept them solitary, didn't let them grow. But then I found the rhythm, the back of the sheet design. Writing on the front side, sketching on the line. Flip it over, spin it around. Celebrate the change. It's been 1 year later after having changed all my Obsidian templates to Excalidraw. Having notes, we got the text. the text. Hey, we got the sketch.